So I was really debating on making this video because I wasn't sure if YouTube's TOS would allow me to talk about this, but if you read the title right, this is gonna be a little story time about this kid I knew in high school. Let's call him. What's a good name to give this guy? Let's call him the hentai master. So back in high school, back in actually English class of grade 12, I my school was really full, like extraordinarily full, and they just kept adding kids to the school, and that eventually got to be a problem because there wasn't enough teachers or classrooms to really accommodate the quantity of students the school had. So what my school started doing, and I don't know how many schools do this, but mine did, is essentially um it's not really a special class because I don't want it to seem like I'm special needs. It's okay. There's like the main English classes, and then it's kind of subdivided. So you would all like take the same curriculum, but because there's so many people in the school, they couldn't fit all the kids in one room that needed to be in that specific class. So what they would do is, I guess, when the teachers would have a gap in between their classes, I suppose, uh, they would get kind of like a mini class inserted into that gap of their day. So I remember it was third period of my grade 12 English class, and I'm not gonna do a whole like introduction like, oh, day one I went there and met the so and so. No, I'm gonna hop right into the story time. So I you know there's all sorts of kids in my class. It's not really a full class per se. There was maybe 15 people, even that's being generous. I think there was like less than 10 students in that class. And because my fucking high school didn't have enough kids, it would kind of be mishmashed. So I remember I was in grade 12, and then there are some kids also from grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, right? Well, there was this kid right next to me that sat right next to me, and we're gonna call him, what did I say earlier, hentai master? Okay. So, hentai master, funny thing about hentai master is that he was hard of hearing. I don't know if he was fully deaf. I don't believe so. He did have hearing aids, and there was a lady at the front of the classroom that she was kind of also like a, not really substitute. What's it called? Like an EA, but she uh goes to every class with him because she is kind of a sign language interpreter, and you could have a full on conversation with this guy, and he'd be able to hear you because he has his hearing aids, right? But for some reason he had the sign language interpreter. From my knowledge, he didn't need her a lot of the time, but I assume it's just a regulation by the school. I'm not completely sure on the whole logistics of that. But anyway, so yeah, this kid, hentai master, was hard of hearing. I'm not sure if he was fully deaf or not. And he sat right next to me. And one day I'm in class and I'm playing this mobile game on my phone that sadly no longer exists. That quite literally just think either a week or 2 weeks ago, just got the axe and the servers were shut down. It's called it was called My Hero Ultra Impact. It's a mobile game. It's like a turn-based My Hero Academia game. You have your three characters, and then you have your two backup characters, and then you just either fight the in-game bosses, the in-game enemies, or there's PvP, right? So one day I'm studying in grade 12 class, in English class, sorry, and fucking sorry, I lost my train of thought. I should really record gameplay before I record the actual story time, so I don't fucking get distracted. Because right now I'm recording Halo, which Halo's a fun game, but I'm fucking trying to figure out what the fucking guy wants me to do. Anyways, so he sees me playing this My Hero Academia game on my phone, and he starts asking me about it, like, oh, are you into My Hero Academia? I'm really into My Hero Academia too, and I'm like, dude, that's sick. I love My Hero Academia. So we start talking for a bit about My Hero Academia, who our favorite characters are, who like what our favorite quirk is, what our favorite arc is, stuff like that, right? Just making conversation, because if I'm gonna sit next to the dude for a majority of the class, and a good chunk of the year, I figured I might as well make conversation with him, right? So, yeah, everything goes normal for the first couple weeks, And actually, the sign language interpreter lady, when I'm trying to go out of class one day, stops me, and she like says, "Hey, I need to talk to you." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I thought I just missed like some kind of assignment, or she was gonna tell me, "Hey, you're on your phone too long. You're supposed to be paying attention in class." No, she didn't say that. She just pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I saw you talking to Hentai Master earlier, and I really, really appreciate that, because it's kind of hard for him to make friends because of his whole condition, and it's kind of, people don't really talk to him, and I really appreciate you talking to him, because he seems a lot happier and a lot more social and excited to come to class." And that kind of warms my heart, because I didn't know that he had trouble making friends. I assumed it'd be harder for him, obviously, because of his whole condition, right? Like, even though you could have a full conversation with him, and it's not like you could barely make out what he says. Like, he said his things pretty audibly. I don't think he was fully deaf, because the videos I've seen on people that are fully deaf, they're like, fuck, I would do an impression, but that will get me canceled off the face of the earth. They speak in it's like they can make out the vibrations of what a word is supposed to sound like, but they can't exactly figure out the exact sound, if that makes sense. So I'm not gonna do it, because if I do it, I'm gonna seem like an asshole, and I probably am already, for even like considering to do an impression of what I think this guy sounded like. So I'm not gonna do that, but you guys know what I mean, right? Like, when someone is hard of hearing, like fully hard of hearing, and they try to speak, you can like make out what the sound is supposed to be, just not really what the word is. And I think that's how they do it. It's like they can feel the vibrations of a word. They just can't really really put that word together. But this kid wasn't like that at all. So anyways, I'm thinking, oh, that's kind of sad. I didn't know he had trouble making friends, because this kid was nice. This kid was sociable. He was happy. He's like always doing his work. He was a good kid. Until one day, I go into class, and Mr. Hentai Master is sitting there. And, I didn't know what I had to do for that day, and like I would do most of that English class because the teacher we had was chill as fuck. He's one of my favorite teachers to this day. He was just he's a very like friendly and like not very strict teacher, which would actually make me want to be able to learn in his class and get the work done on time because this dude was cool as fuck. Um, just gonna call him Mr. English teacher for the sake of the story. So yeah, I go on my phone. I'm in Mr. English teacher's class, and Hentai Master is sitting next to me, and the teacher starts explaining the lesson, and I remember it was something about I think it was the 2004 tsunami. I forget where it happened. I know it was on a tropical island, and it was a really big disaster. So essentially, the assignment we had was to make like a poster board of like the incident and kind of make like a mock kind of like charity thing in regards to the whole tsunami situation. So that was our assignment. So he's going over that, and Mr. Hentai Master is writing on a piece of paper. I don't pay much attention to it. I thought maybe he's doing notes, maybe he's doing work for another class. I don't pay much attention to it. He suddenly, Mr. Hentai Master, then he puts the piece of paper on my desk and slides over a pencil. And on the piece of paper it says, which My Hero girl do you like the best? And I was like, oh, innocent enough question, right? He probably means like, oh, which female character do I think has the coolest powers, has the coolest like character building, stuff like that. That is what I assumed at first. But and what was my answer? I put Nejire Hado. Because to this day, I believe Nejire Hado is still my favorite My Hero Academia character. So I put Nejire Hado, and I slide the paper onto his desk, I don't think much of it. I don't think much of it at all. I think, innocent enough question, right? Like, he's just bored. We can't talk in class, If we were to whisper, it might be a really little bit difficult for him to engage in the conversation because he's already hard of hearing, right? So I slide the paper back on his desk. He takes it. He looks at me, and kind of does like a low giggle, not like anything like malicious or weird, just laughs slightly. Then he takes the paper, and he writes down, what character he likes the best. And I believe he wrote. What did he write? I completely forgot. I think he wrote either Toga or Uraraka. I'm not really sure. I can't really remember all too well, but it was one of those two, right? He slides the paper back to me. I give a kind of like an awkward laugh. Not really an awkward laugh, but more like a polite laugh, And I give the paper back to him. He flips the paper around on another side and starts writing more stuff down. I'm thinking, oh, he's probably going to ask me, something, in regards to My Hero Academia, so I don't think much of it. And he puts the paper on my desk, and on the paper it says, who has the best boobs in MHA? And, I don't really give him a look. I just kind of laugh awkwardly and look at the paper. And, because I want to be polite, I just write in Nejire Hado, right? Because, I don't want to tell him to go fuck himself in front of the whole class. Not that I would do that. It's just a little bit of a weird thing. I'm pretty sure most of you would understand. So, then I slide the paper back to Hentai Master, and then nothing, go on about our day. Following day in English class, I go into class, and Hentai Master's not there. I don't think much of it. I think, oh, he's probably stuck up in the hallways. Maybe he's getting a snack at the cafeteria. Blah, blah, blah. I don't think much of it. I don't think anything really happened to him. And it didn't. He came into class a few minutes later, and he walks in. The language interpreter is not far behind him. And he sits down. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm not really thinking anything much of it. I'm thinking, oh, he's, probably had to do stuff before class, whatever. So we start our English class, and we are working on our tsunami poster boards, right? Like, we're doing our little assignment for English class that day. So as we're working on it, he taps me on my shoulder, and I look over at him, and he looks around to make sure kind of nobody is looking, and then he is showing me his phone, and on his phone is My Hero Academia hentai. Specifically, it was one. I don't know how graphic I can get, which is why I'm gonna go close to the mic, make this a really uncomfortable ASMR. It was My Hero Academia hentai, and it was a comic strip. I don't need to go so close to the mic for this, but it was a comic strip of Deku and Uraka, and they were in doggy style. About to fuck, and then it turns back to Deku, and it turns out it was actually Toga transformed into Deku, and she was like inside Uraka, and it was like, oh, she has a dick, she tricked you, it wasn't actually Deku fucking you, it was Himiko. And we're in the middle class, right? I mean, it's not like I said, it's not a full class. There's like a lot of empty seats near us, but I don't really want to be looking at hentai in class. Call me crazy for that. That's just not what I'm trying to do right now. So I was like, Luca, what the fuck are you doing, bro? We're in class. And he starts laughing. He said, oh, my bad, I just thought you'd like to see it. Isn't it hot? And I was like, sure, man, sure, whatever you say. So I don't think much of it. I just turn back around and go do my work. Also, that comic kind of made me uncomfortable, not because, also because he fucking showed me fucking hentai porn in class, but also because, because the way the comic presented itself, it was basically Uraka didn't know this was Himiko, and she thought it was Deku, so it's kind of, I don't want to word it this way, but in a way, it was kind of Uraka getting taken advantage of by Himiko. She didn't consent to doing that with Toga, which kind of really made me uncomfortable. But nonetheless, don't show fucking people hentai in class. That's just not it. So I don't think much of it, I think, it's probably just, he thinks it's locker room talk, he thinks this is normal, which for some people it might be, I don't know what you freaks do in class. I don't know if you guys just show each other hentai porn, but, not me. That's just not what I'm about, I gotta actually do shit during class. Or fuck around during class. I wasn't always the most productive, well-behaved student, but I wasn't looking at fucking hentai during class, right? That's just a little too much, I feel like. So anyways, by this point, me and Hentai Master have exchanged Snapchats, we mostly just talk about My Hero Academia, and I don't think much of it. I think, oh, might as well talk to this guy. Might as well be nice. And never really had anything against this guy. Him just showing me the hentai in class, I didn't really, despise the dude. I didn't really think he was weird. I just thought it was an odd thing to do, right? But my school, kids did odd things all the time, so I didn't pay too much attention to it, right? So one day he invites me over to his house, and I really didn't want to go over to his house. I'll be honest. I mostly just said yes and like agreed to go to his house to be polite, because I knew, the sign language interpreter lady told me, hey, doesn't have any friends. So I thought, this kid doesn't have many friends. I might as well go over to his house. I'm not gonna lie, man. He had a fucking nice house. Turns out, a nice house in, well, the same neighborhood that I lived in, but my family and I lived in an apartment, and he lived in an actual house. And I gotta say, this was a nice fucking house. It wasn't any, like, Jeff Bezos, like, fucking mansion, but, you could tell his parents were doing good. His parents had, like, a brand new, like, Lexus in the driveway, and a brand new fucking, like, big Ram truck, and, they were doing pretty good for themselves. And oh, shit. I'm gonna have to edit that out. Oh, fuck. I didn't mean to say his name. Whoopsies. Anyways. I just gotta... Well, that's gonna be blurred out in the final YouTube... Well, shit. Whoops. So yeah, Hentai Master had a really nice room. He had a loft bed, and underneath the loft bed he had his like setup. He had a TV, a PlayStation, an Xbox, and Nintendo Switch, like all underneath his bed. And I thought that was really cool. And he didn't have the biggest room in the house, but he had a pretty cool setup. So basically, under the bed, he had a TV with like beanbag chairs. He had his Xbox, PlayStation, Switch. And he had this like crazy sound system, right? And it was a nice TV. It was probably, I want to say, 50 inches. It was a good sized TV for being under the bed, right? So, I go to his house. We start hanging out. We play this game on his PlayStation called Jump Force. And if you guys haven't played or heard of Jump Force, it's basically It's essentially like a 3D anime fighter, and it's like any anime 3D fighter, right? Except what made Jump Force special, and it was all the Jump Force characters. So there was like Naruto, Luffy, Goku, Deku. Characters from all Shonen Jump franchises, like, in one game together. And it was really cool. It was like the anime Smash Bros, essentially, right? So it was cool. So we were playing that, and we eventually got bored, started playing Minecraft, blah, blah, blah. We just spend most of the evening playing video games, and I'm not having a bad time, I'm not having, a great time, because this was right after school, right? And I usually love to go home after school and go use the bathroom and take a shower, stuff like that, right? And I couldn't do that. And I always do this to this day. After work, I always go home, just like straight home to the bathroom and then go to the shower after, right? Like, that's my little routine I have. That's my little moment of peace for the day. So, but I don't think much of it. I'm thinking, fucking dude, like, I'm having a good time. This kid seems to really be enjoying himself. What's the big deal, right? Like, he needs friends. And it kind of sounds like I'm pitying him. And in a way, I kind of was. But I don't really want to say I took pity on him, because that kind of sounds really terrible. But I knew this kid didn't have a lot of friends, right? So I decided to do this this nice thing and decided to, do something good for a change, and not be an asshole like I normally am in my life. And, this kid really seemed to be enjoying my company. So I figured, fuck it, man. Why not, Eventually, we start watching YouTube videos because we get bored of playing games, We ran out of games to play. We played Minecraft. We played our Jump Force. We played Splitgate Fortnite. We're kind of tired of games. We just kind of want to chill out and relax. So he goes to YouTube. He puts some fucking anime transformation tier list, which is, I didn't think much of it. It's like, okay, whatever. I'd rather maybe watch a show, maybe a movie, maybe like a not a tier list video. But I didn't say anything. Like, this is this kid's house. I am a guest here. I can't really say, oh, fuck that, man. Let's watch some other shit. Like, I can't do that. You can't be an asshole when you're a guest at someone's house. You just can't do that. So we start watching this anime tier list, and he is on his phone. We're both on our phones, kind of scrolling, kind of doing our own thing with the tier list in the background. We're not really talking at this point, right? We're just sitting next to each other on the beanbags underneath the loft bed. So me and him are talking, kind of zoning out on our phones while the tier list video plays in the background. All of a sudden, he turns his phone to me, and it's more hentai. And I'm like, oh, you're looking at hentai. I said it in that exact way because, I wasn't expecting it. I thought he was just maybe like on Twitter or something, on TikTok. He was playing a game on his phone. I wasn't really paying much attention to what he was doing on his phone. Was not expecting that. And he starts laughing. And he's like, oh, have you seen this hentai? And I was like, no, dude, I don't really watch hentai, which is true, right? Like, I'm not fucking a compulsive hentai watcher. I don't watch porn either. I mean, back then I did watch hentai occasionally, but it was never to masturbate to it, essentially. And I know that's gonna sound like bullshit, Trust me, I know how fucking stupid it sounds, but I promise it's the truth. I did watch my fair share of hentai back in the day, but it wasn't like every day. It was like, once a month, if anything, and I wouldn't fucking jerk off, and I don't really like doing that. And that'll be a separate video. Actually, maybe not. That would be a surefire way to violate the T of S. So maybe not. Maybe I won't do that. But yeah, he says, "Oh, have you seen this one?" And he begins to cast his phone to the TV, and he begins to fucking play a hentai movie. I don't know the name of it. I couldn't tell you. It was like this like demon girl. I think she's a succubus. She had like red hair, and that's all I fucking remember. I know it was a popular hentai in the stratosphere. I think it was on the likes of, well, nothing can beat these two. Boku no Pico's fucking traumatizing. Do you guys ever had that? Where like one of your friends fucking in grade 7, middle class, with their iPod or in recess just shows you Boku no Pico? Like, that shit is traumatizing. In the middle of class, grade 7, your friend showing you Boku no Pico. Like, that's fucked. Anyways, off topic here. So he starts playing this hentai with the succubus girl, and I'm like, yo, I don't think you should put that on your TV, man. Your mom could walk in any second. He starts laughing, and he's like, hey, yeah, but I watch this all the time. And I'm like, cool, man, but I don't want to be seeing that on your TV, right? He's like, oh, fine, fine. And, it is kind of awkward after that. I'm kind of trying to keep my, don't want to say I'm keeping my distance from the dude because we're right next to each other. But I'm trying to avoid conversation with him, and I'm trying not to leave right away because I'll, like, in my mind, if I left right away and just left as soon as that happened, that would look suspicious, and I didn't want to make him sad. I'm fucking such a people pleaser that I'd rather be uncomfortable in a room than hurt that person's feelings, right? So eventually, I remember I did this. I think it was like maybe 20 minutes later, I faked like a notification from my mom. I went on YouTube and played like the iPhone notification sound, and I pretended to be texting. I said, oh, go. My mom wants me home to go watch my sisters. It was like, oh, fuck, did I say his name again? God damn it. Shit. So I'm like, hentai master, I gotta go home, dude. My mom wants me home right away to watch my sisters. He's like, oh, alright, man, thanks for coming over. And yeah, and I leave and I go home, and I really don't think about it too much. I just think, oh, that was a little strange. He's a weird guy. And then after that day, he just is always asking me to come over. He's always texting me on Snapchat like, hey, do you want to hang out today? Do you want to hang out? We haven't hung out in so long. And I'm like purposely avoiding this guy just because, I've told him to not show me hentai anymore, and he just does it. And then he's saying, oh yeah, he watches it all the time. And, I kind of, and I'm such a shitty person for doing this, but I kind of ghost the dude, right? And that's something you should never do. Don't ghost people. That's just really fucking rude. But anyways, I'm basically ghosting this guy until one day he asked me to hang out again, and I tell him sure reluctantly. And then the date comes to hang out at 6, and I'm like, I really don't want to go here anymore, but I don't know how to tell him that. So you know what my dumbass decided to do? I decided to block him. Straight up, block him. No explanation, no nothing. Just blocked him. That's what nice people do. Just block people out of nowhere. Right? So I do that, and we have this mutual friend. Let's call them Braxton. So Braxton is texting me, and he's like, hey, did you remove Hentai Master on Snapchat? And I play stupid. I'm like, what? No, what? No, I still haven't added, man. Like, that's so weird. Must be a glitch. And Braxton's like, dude, you don't gotta bullshit me. Like, tell me what's up. And I'm like, dude, I gotta be honest. I don't want to fuck around with Hentai Master anymore. He's like, oh, why not? What'd he do? So I explained to him that he's been fucking showing me hentai in class and, like, at his house. It just really kind of made me uncomfortable. He was like, oh, he does that with you too? And I was like, wait, what? He was like, yeah, he shows me hentai and porn all the time when I went over, and that's all he talks about is just sex and boobs. I was like, dude, what the fuck is this kid doing? So Braxton understood, and I said, please, Braxton, don't tell him. Like, I don't want things to be awkward. Like, we live literally, like, a block and a half away from each other. Like, I don't want him to show up with a vengeance and just fucking pull out his, like, hentai magazines and just beat me to death with it and just, like, fucking cover me in tissues and lotion, right? Like, I didn't want that happening. Braxton understood. And, yeah, I just went about my life that day. And, I don't know what Hentai Master is doing to this day. Hopefully he's, living a good life, watching his hentai, maybe not watching hentai. I regret saying that. Hopefully, he's doing great things in his life now. But anyways, guys, that has been the story time of Mr. Hentai Master. I don't know if I'm going to title this video Legend of the Hentai Master or Addicted to Hentai yet. Or just Hentai Master. I'll have to think about that before I upload, but I got to go actually edit. I can't just take apart the audio from this and then put it on top of the gameplay. I can't do that. I'm going to have to bleep out his name, a good couple of times. I'm going to hope I didn't say it too often, because looking at this recording, it is about to be 56 minutes, or not 56, sorry, 36. I don't know what the fuck I'm smoking. Must be smoking crack. I don't know why I said 56. 36 minutes of footage. I believe I only said his actual name once, and you guys won't be able to hear it. It'll be bleeped out just because I don't want him to stumble upon this video and just sue me to all hell. Anyways, guys, the moral of the story for this video is don't watch hentai, don't watch porn. That shit's bad for you. And more importantly, don't be showing people your hentai or porn collection, because you never know, they might not be really fond of it. It might make them uncomfortable. So maybe don't do that. Anyways, guys, I love every single one of you who watches these videos. I didn't do my chores from yesterday like I said I was gonna to. I'm gonna see if I have the motivation to do them now before it is bedtime, it gets too late. First, I gotta fucking edit this video a little bit. So, I'm gonna go do that. Okay, bye-bye.